everyone. Welcome to week 11. It's hard to believe, actually. We are almost done with this course, but we are. I did not send out a video announcement last week because instead of sending out a video announcement, I made sure to just have extra material posted for you regarding the midterm, and I wanted to get those graded so that we could go over what the expectations were and how everyone did. How everyone did, honestly, you did about as I thought you would do. The highest score on the midterm was 44, and the lowest score of the midterm was 23. A lot of you ended up in the middle, and I received a couple of emails from some of you who were concerned, and so I thought we would just go ahead and break down some of that on what I was looking for and what sort of my approach is as far as grading criteria. The one thing I think you'll find in the law and when you take any law course is that instructions and reading them carefully are really important. I graded this midterm pretty harshly because I wanted to drive home a couple of key points. The first really being that instructions and reading them and making sure you have clear direction from them is what you take away. Unfortunately, for many of you, it was the directions on these questions that really got you into a bind. So here are a couple examples of what I mean. When you were asked, for instance, in part 1, there was the fifth question asked you to define and explain what being a pro se means to your cousin. Some of you would only do part of that. Similarly, in part 2, when we were talking about the Popov v. Hayashi case, you were asked for each party in different questions to give at least 2 reasons why they should succeed on their claims in the case. Many of you only gave me 1. I think it's just something to think about. It's something to pay attention to. The other 2 things that really got people hung up were how to state the issue in a case and what that means, as well as, again, just paying attention to what it is that I was asking for and making sure to do that. So 2 examples by what I mean with that. In the Popov v. Hayashi case, there was a specific question that asked you to state the issue as it was stated by the court. I did not want you to tell me what you thought the issue was. I didn't want you to give me a summary of what the issue could be. I was looking for how the court phrased the issue that it was that they were going to be going through in that case. And for you all, there was a clearly stated issue by the court. And so people who did not state it as it was stated by the court, which is what the question asked, did not receive credit. If you gave me sort of your own view of what the issue was, I appreciate that. But in the law, we don't care what your view of things are. We don't want to know how you feel about something. When we ask a particular question, we want to know what the answer is to what we have asked. And so I think it's just important to pay attention to that. And again, I think just paying attention to how many things are being asked of you and in what way. In part 1, you were asked by your friend to define 3 parts of a case brief, but not everyone defined 3 parts. Some of you defined 2, some of you defined 1. And so again, I think full points can't be awarded when there isn't full compliance with a question. I did try and stretch the points as much as I could, but if you did not do as well as you wanted to, my advice would be to look at the answers you submitted for your midterm and then go back and review them against the feedback memos that were posted in Module 9. There's a feedback memo for Part 1 that goes through what I was looking for in each question, and there's a feedback memo for Part 2 that also gives you a breakdown of everything that I was looking for on the midterm. My overall comment on this, though, is don't despair, but directions are important. And if you are asked to do certain things, such as define and explain, you need to make sure to do both. If you're asked to give 3 particular definitions, you need to make sure and include 3 particular definitions. If you are asked to tell me what it is exactly that the court said about something, you need to pay attention to that and think about how I'm not asking what you think it is they said, I'm asking what it is that they actually said, and that's what we were looking for you to give back to me. Now, again, this is your first class in this series. You have never done this before. And the issue in the briefs that we've been doing really does seem to be stumping you. And so we'll just talk about that again very briefly. The issue in a case is the question or questions that the court itself is telling us that they are trying to answer. We don't have to guess at that for the most part. It's right there. They say things like, the issue in this case is, the question we're trying to answer in this case is, the question presented to this court is. There's no guesswork when it comes to the issue. And what's challenging about studying law and briefing cases in particular is that, especially in law school classes, again, we are not looking for your opinion or your feeling of what it is that the court is doing or trying to decide. We are generally asking you to tell us specifically what they are telling us it is that they are trying to decide. And so as we go forward, I would just think back to that. What is it exactly that you're being asked? And how is it exactly that you are supposed to present that? And I think if you pay attention to the directions and how it is exactly that you're supposed to answer the questions, you'll find that you'll do better on the final exam. You can't sort of rush through this. I would read those directions pretty carefully. When I teach this class in person, which I'm actually going to be starting tonight, I actually give a pop quiz on the third class, which is all about following the directions. And it's set up so that if you read the directions, you'll realize that you don't actually have to take the quiz. But what does everyone do when I pass out that quiz? They jump in and they start answering those questions as fast as they can. And it's a trick. The first couple of questions look legit. They are stuff that we have talked about in the previous two classes, but then they get ridiculous. Then they say things like, turn this paper over and fold it into an airplane, throw it across the room, stand up, clap your hands, and spin in a circle 3 times. And I will tell you people, every single year, there is at least one person who stands up, claps their hands, and spins around 3 times because we just don't read the directions. So if there's anything that you can take away from this, it's just to pay attention to that, and you will. We'll talk some more as well in next week's module about what it is that I'll be looking for in the final exam and what it is that I'll be asking you to present. I know this video message is a bit longer than normal, but I thought it was important to sort of reiterate those points. Again, just to summarize, if you were not pleased with your midterm grade, I would review your answers along with the feedback memos that I've posted in Module 9. And then should you have any further questions, go ahead and email me. But I will tell you, I am not going to change or adjust anyone's grades. Your grade is your grade is your grade for this particular midterm. This week, we are doing constitutional law. That is your last formative first-year subject for this course. We have assignments, as always, due on Thursdays and on Sunday. Everyone has completed their interview of the practitioner, so your field work assignment is done, and that has to feel good. And I'll be giving you some comments on the reflections that you turned in this week so that we can see whether or not you found it to be a valuable experience. But so far, what I can gather, you definitely have. So I'm glad that you were able to get something out of that. Next week is our last week. Module 12 will open on Sunday, and it will generally be focused on getting us to learn about rules and how we create those and how we merge those rules and what to do with statutes. How do we read laws and how do we apply them? We will also spend some time next week talking about the final exam, what it is that you need to review, and how it is that I think that you should study. As usual, I hope that you all are doing well. If you have any questions about anything, please do feel free to reach out to me by email, and I will look forward to talking with you next week. Have a good one.